Much ground, but yesterday, hopefully we have a better connection, relationship to what we're learning. All right, so we're on page AyinBase 16. And we will start from the fifth line number 5. The line begins kuli. And we're using the metaphor of a name. You know, ha'ora, the ha'ora. A name is related to the person, and in such a degree that it cannot be severed. That relationship between the person and his name cannot be severed. Then there is the union of the name as it's being referred to by others, Kriyas Hashem. This is a further a further step in terms of their relationship. That relationship is not that directly connected as the name applied to the person himself. And now we'll see the words inside. I begin kuli. So till now we made the distinction between the name as applies to the person, he is called by the name, and how he is being called by the name. And the in that he is being called by the name, that aspect of the name is not closely related to him. Hagam, although the Etzem Hashem, that the very essence of the name as it applies to himself, who gam kein is also rak shem v'loy baal Hashem. It's also only the name. Loy baal Hashem, it is not the owner of the name. It's not he himself. It's only a name applied to him. Yet still, harei hu b'bchinas shaychus elov. It has nevertheless an element of shaychus, of relationship to him, yoser, to a greater degree, mikriyas Hashem, from calling him by his name. Shehu lagabe hazulas. The union from kriyas Hashem, this is how the name is viewed, exists lagabe hazulas, towards and relative to someone else, outside. Again, as I said, as we discussed at great length yesterday, these things seem to be what's called a truism. In other words, it's a very obvious fact, and it's so obvious that we lose sense of the significance of it. Like yesterday we spoke about the name being applied to an object. That can be severed. In our mind, in our worldly mind, the name applied to the object is to begin with not a real relationship, not a real application, not a real connection. This is why it can be separated. But we have to understand, no, that's what we discussed a whole lot yesterday. It is a real connection. What does it mean, a real connection? Just one word, it is true by godly decree. Just as the name of the person, just as the Greeks is true because so decreed the creator of the world, the name applied to the object is also a godly decree. But it's on a different level. It's called ha'ora de ha'ora. A similar Indian, when the name is applied to, is used to be, that he is being called legabe hazulas. What does legabe hazulas mean? Legabe hazulas means that this zulas, this other person who interacts with this individual, and he interacts with this individual in his level, in his interaction level, the whole presence of this other person and his name is on the interactive level. It's not on an essential level. To the person himself, this defines himself. Legabe hazulas, this defines his presence in the bigger world. And to what degree does he interact with him? Only, as the expression is, where their paths cross. And when they are turned away from one another, they don't know each other. Their paths don't cross. Which means legabe hazulas. Again, we have to reflect of the truth within that itself. The fact that two people exist in the world and therefore their paths will cross because they recognize each other, that is a true principle. A true principle means this is a principle by godly decree, but not to the extent that he knows himself, which is, as I said, is inseparable. Yet, the name as applied to the person himself is also only a ha'ora. It's only a name. Based on the discussion yesterday, if you found out the name is a ha'ora, means that it's a reflection of the true presence of the person in the world. But it's only a reflection of the true presence of the world. The true presence is in the shem, slavish, and the group. Because there is a godly truth to that, therefore it deserves a name. Okay. Dugma mizeh l'maylo. Dugma mizeh l'maylo. But this is reflected l'maylo. In that, the 10 spheres, the 10 spheres. 10 spheres means the 10 spheres the way they are, as we say in a minute, in Atzilus. Hein bechinas rosa dishmei. 10 spheres, they are the union of rosa dishmei. Rosa, the word rosa means the secret, I mean the essence element of his name. The 10 spheres, this is the means by which he is known. He can be known. He can be manifest. Kriyas Hashem. And then the second level, Kriyas Hashem, referring to the name, by calling this name, Zeho Bechinas is Galus or Esesphiras Batzilus. This is the next step where these Esesphiras come to expression to his Galus in Atzilus. The 10 spheres in Atzilus, they are already individual spheres, and it's called spheres, oires bikeli, because they are individually identifiable. Or kmaimer, and as it says, that's in the Zohar, and who the apikas asar tikunin, you brought forth asar tikunin, the 10 tikunin first and the 10 spheres, bebechin as a gilui. This asar tikunin is apikas. Apikas means you brought forth, which means this is when they called as spheres when they were brought forth, begil, bebechin as gil. Well, as spheres, but then the same as spheres. Moshiach klulin be'oirin shem hamatzil. At the stage where they are klulin, they're part of, they're included. They're part of the Ayin shem hamatzil of the matzil, which means the keser. Hareihem gam kim b'chinas shemis. They're also only shemis. The names Rag. Etzem Hashem, except that there it is the name as it pertains to the inside, to the Etzem, to the Matzi. Now in Mishalim, we have identified a means to relate to these two states of the union, the way it is called by Etzem, and the way it has begilui is an expression. And one of the means that we should be able to identify it is that it says that a home, a house, this is something which is an essential element in the human reality and human existence. Which means that the oir, so to speak, of the Etzem of the human being encompasses a home. In this oir, there's essential union that he has a home. But then what happens as soon as he has this home? Actually, we learned in the sechel one time, the Rebbe's expression is not he has a home, he has a place, mokim lebayis. He has a place for a house. A place for a house doesn't even identify a home. But what happens when he has a mokim lebayis? Then the bayis has to be is put up, and the bayis has windows, and the bayis has a roof and a door and windows. This is already defining the bayis itself. And then once the bayis is built, with all the trimmings of a house, then begins to come forth and reveal the content of the house. This is called the spheres, the koiches. Because a person does not live in a house in the four walls. And the reason, the essential in the house is that he should be able to be himself at ease. To be at ease means that if he puts a chair down, the chair is going to stay there. It belongs there. And the same thing, all other amenities of a human being. These amenities that are further come as a further development of this house, this is like comparable to the spheres when they are begili. But in essence, they are there as soon as there is a house, as soon as there's a place for a house. That's what it's all about. So, the principle that he has a house, the Gemara says, Odem shein lebayis ein odom. This is related to the person on the most essential level. Without that, he's not an odom, which means this is a reflection of the fact that he is a human being. Just like a human being has to have a name, if he doesn't have a name, there's something missing in his essence. He doesn't have a home, there's something missing in his essence.
Something missing in his essence, or something missing in the way his essence is showing itself in the world?
That's right. But, true. But the essence of the human being is that he should be shown in the world. That's what the human being is here for.
I thought essence was behind presence. Presence is that he should be shown in the world, but essence is prior to that. You know.
He has no essence but for the mission that was assigned to him in the world. Initially, when he was created, it says, "Nas Adam Tzal Menikid Moshiach." It's a tremendous thing. But we hear the B'dgas Hayom. But he is going to be in the world for this. This is his definition. We hear the B'dgas Hayom. If he does not exercise and bring forth his spirit into the world, then he is as if he's not there. Then he's only there in potential, but not in actual. One second, I understand your point. I want that we should understand. These are not two separate steps. There's a human being and he has his duty. Human being and his duty come together. This is why he is there in the first place. This is what gives him that essential presence. When we do Torah mitzvahs, just to put it in simple terms, do Torah mitzvahs, it is not that we understand the value of Torah mitzvahs and then we do them. No, we do Torah mitzvahs because the Creator told us to do it, and we do it directly as a result of that command. The Rambam says even more. The Rambam says even a goy, 7 mitzvahs v'neach. If they should do the 7 mitzvahs exactly according to rule, but they do it because of their own conviction, of their own sechel, it doesn't have that status. The most important aspect in Torah mitzvahs and even Rangoy is the direct connection to the giver of the Torah mitzvah, to the Creator. Then you become a real presence. If you do it independently, then you don't need, there's no reality to it. This is the reason that the first thing we wake up and say, Melech. If you wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm a human being, I have duties to do, then you mess up the whole mission. All right. So, the Esses Spheres, the way that in Etzem, this is Rosa Dishmei, this is the very name itself. Then when they come to his galus, this is called Kriyas Hashem. And this is when they are in Atzilus. Now these same names, these same spheres, are first klulim ba'oines of hamatzim. But then this is what's called Etzem Hashem. So our illustration to this Indian that the klulim ba'oines of hamatzim, it's like the furnishings are called that are part and parcel of the home. But then it has to surface. When it surfaces, then it becomes the identifiable individually. But what is identifiable individually? The furnishings that complement, that populate the home. They're not independently. If you have a chair, but the chair is standing in the middle of the street, it's not a chair. This is the phenomenal principle, I would say, there is chochmah and bina. Bina identifies the content of chochmah and identifies the content individually to the full degree of comprehension. But the most important quality in Bina is that it identifies this content as part of chochmah, drawn in from the chochmah. If it identifies it independently, then it loses its value completely. The idea of Bina is to reveal that which is in the chochmah. And in connection with this, in conjunction with this, I want to comment on what happened yesterday. Okay, Shmuel said that what I'm saying is similar to what the scientists say. And I said, no way, there's no similarity. What's the difference? Scientists are saying true things. And the proof is in the pudding. It really works. What is the important difference? They identify things in totally severed from their source, functioning independently. And it's in the discussion of yesterday, it becomes very clear and obvious. He said that if a person has a cut in the finger, he will heal. And the healing process takes place. The healing process is where we all know the molecules split and they connect to one another. And as a result, it heals. And here is where we differ in path. The scientist says this splitting and this connecting, this is entirely a natural phenomenon. It's contained within the molecule itself, within the body itself. And but Kislev says, no, there is a life, there's a neshama behind it. It's the neshama that is enticing, that is directing the molecules, because the molecules are part of the life of the person. This is what forces them to rejoin, because there is an essential wholeness to them all the time. And this is the brings about that they should split and connect. Yes, of course there is splitting, but don't sever it from the source. This is the Indian. Atzilus is Gili Hashem, Gili Hassidus. Yamake came along with the cap. Shmuel. Mm-hmm. This is Gili Hassidus. But it's important to understand that this is Gili Hassidus as they are coming from the Etzem. This is what Atzilus is. That's why it's called Atzil. Atzilus means close by. Yes, it's spheres, oires, bikelim, but they don't. But the oir Etzem is constantly with them. And this is true in human life, a human being. Human being is presence in the world, but it doesn't have. His presence is not severed from its source. I am here, but what does my being here represent? The godly command that I'm here. This is why we quote from the Ibn Ezra all the time. And therefore, it's very important to realize that these spheres, this is only the Gilui Hashem. It's also only shameless. Only, excuse me, also only content. Except Etzem Hashem. This is the union from Etzem Hashem. In other words, that shem is not for the purpose of being referred to or being called. But this is actually which is the reality of the Ayin itself. Okay, I don't want to. We spent a whole day yesterday on explaining things. I just don't want to go away from the inside too much. But the reason that there are shemos in the Etzem is, as we learned before, because in the Etzem yesh boy hakoil. The Etzem there is everything. This is why there are also shemos than the Etzem Hashem. But it's a completely different level of shame, not for reference purposes, but in terms of the reality of the Etzem itself. Okay. The similar in similar fashion, we can understand the way it is in the certainly before Atzmus. The begin as his pastus hoir. We said before, in the beginning of this section, that the oir in social lifnei hatzimtzum, there is also madrigas. And generally speaking, these madrigas are identified in two categories: Etzem hoir and his pashtus hoir. The pashtus hoir, the beginning is his pashtus hoir, the pashtus of that oir, hainu, the hainu. This is the hispashtus means that which spreads forth, that goes away from that makes the imprint of the Etzem on the outside. That which it was in the will of Hashem to create and to reveal. This is when the rotzin surfaced al ha'olam is for world. That inyan The Aliyah Zeros in Alo Olam is Harei Bedugmas Bechinas Kriyas Hashem. That is comparable at our level in the Indian from Kriyas Hashem, being called by the name. Just one point, and then just because initially when we spoke, we said then Ayin sechel there is Etzem hoir and his pashtus hoir. We pointed out just like in the name of a person, there is the name as it applies to himself. And that's an essential thing. Why is it an essential thing? Because a person has an essential presence in the world. Therefore, he identified by name. This is presence in the world already implies that he can be known outside of himself. Because, it's a presence in the world. So therefore, there's already an implication of the his pashtus, I say. The important principle in this, again, we have to always fight off the attitude that we have from Chitzonos Ha'olam. In Chitzonos Ha'olam, you know a person not because a person exists, but because you have a personal interest in it. You don't relate to the reality of anything. It's all based on personal interest. So we must understand that this is what chochmah is. This is what koyachoriyo is. This is what sechel ha'odam is. That in sechel we know not the effect of something, but the reality of it itself. So that identifying the person, Kriyas Hashem, we call the name. We call the name because the name has a deeper reality before we call it. It's not a conventional thing. All right, we have to interrupt now. All right.
Pencil or